those, I think most people know how this plays out, but just in case, well, for as a refresher, we have 2 rounds of, as Diallo sort of outlined, we have 2 rounds of peer reviewing. The first round are the positives, what we liked about the script, what were the positive takeaways of the script, and the second round are the needs for improvement, critiques, questions from the author, etc. And yeah, usually starts a good discussion. And I'm sure with these 2 wonderful scripts, we'll have a good, lively feedback section for these 2 scripts. So we have 2 scripts, Stephen and Rosa, and either one of you volunteer to go first. All right. Rosa, how about we tackle yours first, if you don't mind?
Okay.
Okay, so Rosa's script, Through the, is that the full title, or is that?
Yeah, that's the full title.
Full title, okay. All right, Through the, then. The first few pages plus a few random scenes at the end, all right? And so, as I said before, we started with the positives as always. And does anyone want to start off with round 1?
I will.
All right.
Rosa, you got a killer line in here. And that's when Vincenza says, "I'm shouting to the moon." I mean, I just burst out laughing. That's a great line. I'd love to see more of those. It's just a sharp, punchy line, and it had me on the floor. So I like that line. I like your imagery. You do some really nice things with imagery. There's a scene where the rain is on this windowsill, and then it morphs into a photograph, and it morphs into the photograph that she's holding. I love that. The imagery when she starts hallucinating with the oranges and the gondola coming out of the bookcase. I mean, I just thought that was very well done. So nice job with all that. I want to learn more about the script too. You've hooked me. I want to find out how Penelope died, how she really died.
Oh, I should have asked Rose, do you want to give a little bit of background on the script? I should have asked that before we started, but do you just quick background on the script?
Yeah, I'm writing my this feature, and so I have the outline. I have this really intense outline. In the first 27 pages, I'm following the outline, and now I've put the outline down because it's getting me stuck, and I'm just writing fast. I'm up to page 45 now, scene after scene after scene, just a bunch of random scenes. Eventually, I'll get back to the outline, but I do have on my poster board a really specific outline that gotta get back to it. I'm not thinking about it right now, but yeah. So right now I'm just writing, and then I'll figure out later how to put it all together. So that's what's happening, I guess.
Rosa, what was your inspiration for writing this?
Well, my friend Demi, she's the director for our little film Viola. She said that she had a really interesting story. She lives in New Hampshire in, I'll think of the town later. I go there all the time. But anyway, she was in New Hampshire, and in her house is very old and has a really interesting history. The Ordwell family, and we went to the cemetery and everything. And in this small town, there's a story that has been buried about these farmers, and a true story how one young woman, a wife at 19, was accidentally shot by her 14-year-old stepson when the farmer was away. And that got me going. So I was inspired by that. I changed all the names. It's not based on the Ordman family. It's just, I changed the name to Orsaw, and it's completely different characters. I have a doctor in his family. They're not a bunch of farmers, and the doctor happens to be European, and then he moved here. But that was my inspiration, was the killing that was kind of buried in the newspapers in 1870 something, about a 19-year-old stepmom being accidentally shot by a 14-year-old stepson. So got it going.
Fascinating. So I'll quickly just echo everything that Stephen said previously. Yeah, I love some of the dialogue. Definitely some of the lines. Definitely, but the best part definitely was the way you imagine sort of these sequences and these descriptions. It's a very fluid. It's very impressionistic, and I really loved like the way that you write about these certain sort of I guess hallucinations and dream sequences like forming together. It's very it's very descriptive and very fun to visualize.
Do you have a log line for your film?
I have an outline yet.
No, a log line.
You know,
Like
no, not really. I've been thinking about the log line. I'll save that for last.
It will
Yeah.
help you a lot, Rosa, if you come up with a log line, because it seems like you're kind of stuck a little bit. And I think a log line would help. So I would, if I were you, I would try it.
Yeah, I'll try that. I will. I'll think about it. I'll try to write one.
The aim is to have a commercial script when you're done. Something that's saleable, producible, or you're just enjoying the
want
menagerie.
No, I want something, I guess, producible.
Mhm.
Maybe saleable, producible. Yeah, that's it. That is the ultimate goal, I guess, to write something that's producible.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of wonderful material there, and imagery and characters and all of those things. I'm fascinated by many aspects of it, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, gee, there's an epic in here somewhere. It's right now expanding and expanding, which is probably where you need to just keep going. I was watching a master class with Aaron Sorkin, the writer of so many great, A Few Good Men and all of those sorts of things. And he, was tasked with writing the script for The American President, which is a romantic comedy, the one and only he has done. What he goes on to describe, though, is that when he picked up the material and started to work on it, his first deliverable was almost 400 pages. And the Annette Bening character didn't show up till something like page 130 something. And Rob Reiner was the director, and he kind of said, okay, well, let's start there. And, and they started pulling away all of the other material. Interestingly enough, everything else that he had developed there became the beginnings of the West Wing. And so, that's always the thing to keep in mind. We have our minds run and our experience, everything starts landing on the page, and then now it's time to find the log line. Now it's time to find to decide who we're going to focus on as the true protagonist, and then there's lots of other material here that could be other things.
And when I was reading this, I read this before, Rosa, but I read it in parts. Like I remember this was a submission, like the beginning was one of the last submissions you had. So when I read it, it's like, okay, I remember reading this and so on and so forth. And then I continue further, then I noticed that was another submission that you submitted previously. And I didn't even realize till later. I was like, I was excited to know that, wow, I didn't realize that those two submissions were connected. But I want to reiterate what people are saying in terms of the imagery. And this harkens back to one of the feedbacks I gave you before, where you're giving a lot of opportunities for some very beautiful cinematography. So I agree with everybody about the imagery and how you're telling the story with these visuals.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think this is the overall thing. Definitely a log line would definitely help you out, because I think, yeah, you need to figure out like who's the main character here, and that's fine. You have a lot of like floating characters around right now, and that's good for like sort of an outline sort of deal. But to me, I don't know what Zoe really adds to the whole thing, because the meat of the story is in the past with all the stuff, with all the mystery and the intrigue going on there. So, and finding out now about, finding out that out now in the, the current times, contemporary times, however you want to put the story, I don't think that adds too much, because the real meat of the story, the real soul of your work is in the past. Like, I would just set it there and just have it organically just sort of spin out from there, rather than us flashing back and forth, because I was starting to, I kind of lost the story thread, because I was much more fascinated with what was going on with in the past, with all the intrigue with the family and everything. And yeah, so I definitely think getting a log line in order to figure out what story you really want to tell. Is Zoe finding out about past sins and not that, or do you just want to play out what's the sort of the romance and murder storyline?
Yeah, I think personally, I think Zoe could be a very integral part of the story, depending on where you're trying to go with it. Like you said, trying to uncover that secret. So she would be I kind of agree with you at first. When I was first reading it, going back and forth, I was kind of wondering, should we stay in the past? Like, is there a reason why we're going back and forth? But like I said before, well, somebody mentioned before about who is the story about. So if it's about Zoe and it's about her uncovering what that secret is, um, have you made that decision, Rosa?
Yeah, it is about Zoe. She's working on her dissertation as about her great great grandfather, and then secrets are revealed, and then she and then as it revealed, the true story comes out of the past, because Zoe has been told one thing but it's different, and then another secret comes out. So and then it affects her life in the present, because she's a feminist writer, and she finds out two things about her great great grandfather, his treatment of women, that really just shocks her in the present. So she thought he was one person, and then all this comes out, and it affects her now, only because she wants to write a dissertation on this, what she thought great guy, and he was a product of his time, and he did a couple of bad things, and bad things happened. So that's basically the focus. That's how I'm thinking. So that's why Zoe, but
So you already know what the secrets are already?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
Definitely do. The first one is that his second wife, Penelope Marie, she didn't die of natural causes. She was shot by her 14-year-old stepson when she was 19. And there's a little, perhaps, sexual intrigue there.
Okay, yeah, because when you
Oh,
when you say that, it's like I would like to see like why his motivation for what motivated him to killing her.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, okay.
And then there's
How
another
long?
secret.
Uh, do you envision this to be like a 2 hour film, or 1.5 hour film, 3 hour? You don't know, or
I'm hoping 2 hours. I hope
yeah,
not more than 2 hours.
okay.
Now, is the in the shooting, is the hypnosis going to come into that mix somehow?
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Well,
hypnosis in the shooting, not in the shooting. That pertains to the other secret of the doctor. his hypnosis. He does study hypnosis, and it was popular in the 19th century, this idea of hypnotic therapy and all that. It really had its beginnings there, particularly in Europe, then came here. So he brought it with him here when he moved to the States, that the ideas of hypnotic therapy. But that pertains to the second secret. And I won't, I'll leave it for now.
Yeah, don't reveal too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thought that was crossing my mind with this back and forth with the 14-year-old and whatnot, that, you know, that spurred in the back of my mind is the father, the doctor, finds out about this potential intrigue, and he uses hypnosis on his son to try to break the relationship, not intending that anybody get killed, but by mistake, he pushes the wrong buttons in his own child, and he ends up shooting her. Anyway, it was just one of those flights of fancy kinds of things, but it's a plausible way for the kid to get there.
Mm.
Within this context, anyway.
Rosa, I don't think I know enough about your story to really give you any story direction, especially as you're working on your first draft, but I think you're going about it the right way. You have an outline. You've worked the outline to the point where it's no longer really working for you, and now you're going to random scenes. As you keep generating those scenes, I think that's going to be helpful. You'll eventually be able to pull stuff together, and along the lines of BT's point, if it's 400 pages and it's the first draft, so be it. You discover your story as you go along, and then that's what a first draft is for. You'll figure out when you get to the end, and then just what the story is that you're actually telling. But the main thing is just to keep driving to the end, so that you have the thing sort of loosely assembled. You got this block of material in front of you that you can start to play with, because that's really the key thing, is to get that block of material in front of you. And now you can move scenes around, you can cut scenes, you can, whether Zoe's the hero or not there, all that stuff just comes so much more clarity. But again, I like this idea that you're just assembling scenes, and they'll pull together for you once you get enough of them. Keep focusing on not so much plot so much as I would think character. What they were revealing about character. It's pretty easy to come up with a plot twist. Well, I should say it's not really easy, but character is really what at the end of the day makes a story interesting. And so the more time you spend, maybe you just take scenes that relate to Zoe, and you play her out to the end of the story, and then Penelope, maybe you just write a series of scenes related to Penelope, play her out to the end of the story. Michael, wherever the cousin, whatever it is, wherever you think is you're waiting for the story to gel at this point.
I'll echo what Rob just, I think, Rose, you definitely have a good process here. I mean, everyone has their own different process of how they go about things. I think, you're on the right track here with a hell of a story. It's just that I got a little lost between the one storyline and over the other, because I was much more invested with Penelope's story rather than Zoe's. And also about cutting down. I mean, you could have 400 pages that I always just cut down dialogue, and that's definitely here because you have a ton of monologues. I mean, they're beautiful, they flow nicely, but at the same time, you have to think about screen time and about how many monologues you want to give these characters. And I think that's definitely where you can trim down eventually at the end. I mean, but right now, I think I'll second Rob. I think you do have a good process going here.
I just want to comment on screen time too. And since we're talking about Aaron Sorkin, like he can have, because we think about a page's script is equal to a minute of screen time. Now, what I learned was that, yes, she does have some beautiful dialogue in there, Aaron Sorkin, he writes a lot of dialogue, and his scripts tend to, at least in terms of page count, has a very high page count compared to like a movie like A Quiet Place is only 76 pages, but it's an hour and a half film, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that even though on a page, the page count will be higher with dialogue, just be mindful that it goes pretty quickly compared to a page full of action and visuals. So I just want people to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think which film it was. Maybe The Social Network or something like that. He had 185 pages, but it's still a 2-hour movie, and it's to your point. It's because there's so much spoken material, and that's, he talks about, his realm is ideas. It's not about action. He doesn't write action films. It's about that interaction of people, whatever it is, Steve Jobs or A Few Good Men, which is all about that courtroom scene. There's nothing going on except two people, a few people staring at each other, trying to get that final word to come out. So, those are, page counts can only get you so quite, just so far. But, Rosa, again, just finishing with Sorkin on my end anyway, it's, in the end, his thing, until he has that what he describes, that strong, clear intention and that formidable obstacle, until he knows what that is. His idea is those are that's the drive shaft. And when you have that, then you can hang the rest of your set pieces and story on that. But that's the thing that underpins. So if it's Zoe, then, and he said, he's very clear, if you're trying to sell a script, that's got to be in the first 15 pages, period. It's got to be in that first 10 minutes or so. If it's Zoe, then, what's her, what's her moment of awakening about the mystery, and her noticing, jeepers, there's stuff missing here. Where is it? And then she's on that journey of trying to solve that problem. And then you can begin to develop her as flighty and weird and whatnot. And off you go. The other little formatting thing that kept catching me is, if we're going back to the 1880s, some little,
Yeah, I got to do the slug lines. Yeah, I know. I'm just writing quickly, and I haven't. I'm gonna go back and fix it. I have to fix it.
Yeah, because at first it was like I totally missed it, and then I was like, oh wait. So I started writing it myself just to keep track. But anyway,
I have to fix the format. It's
yes, understood.
Yeah, Rosa, are you using a screenwriting program, or are you just using Microsoft Word or something like that?
No, I'm using a Trellbeam, the free final draft.
To me, I don't know anything about that, but I'm just looking visually. When I look at your script, it looks to me like your margins are way too wide. If you're going too far to the end of the page, and even the dialogue blocks too wide to me. And the only effect of that means is that at least because I'm using Final Draft.
Everyone uses it, I know.
Yeah, and so I mean, there's lots of different programs, but to me, it just means that for example, the first 24 pages that you had is probably, if I was to convert that to Final Draft, would end up being much longer. It might be 30 pages long, and your dialogue blocks are going to be much longer. It just seems like something it doesn't look to me like the thing is properly formatting for you, but that I could be wrong there.
I use Trelby. I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Free, free pro.
You
Rosa,
can use,
okay.
sorry about that.
Go
You can
ahead.
use Celtics if you want a, sorry to interrupt, but you can use Celtics, CELTX.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a free
Celtic.
online, screenwriting software.
Yeah, is that better than Trelby? Is it better?
I think so. They have like a watermark in the footer, but it's pretty good.
Also, I keep reminding people too to watch out for the sales for like either Movie Magic, Screenwriter, or Final Draft. So watch out. And plus, every time there's around the holidays, watch out for the sales.
I actually saw a Final Draft somewhere with a 30% off somewhere. I got to look in my emails. Somebody sent me an email. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, they always send out like coupons around the holidays, and so sort of or any type of software. Usually, they're trying to get out some sort of sale or something.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that.
because it's always good, especially like with like one time there was actually 40% off on Final Draft, and I was like, you know what, it's now or never, so I bought it for less for not $200, but for one something, and I've been enjoying Final Draft ever since.
I know. I really want to look into Final Draft. I should this week maybe look into it. If I can get some percentage off, I can do that. Can I transfer? Does anybody know transfer from one thing to another, like transfer from Trelby to Final?
Yes, you can.
Sure, yeah.
Problem.
Yeah, if you have a script already, and I did this once, and if you have a script, you transfer immediately, and it goes right on it. It's much.
Oh,
I
good.
did with Ryder's Duet with one of my early scripts, and it was actually much better than Ryder Duet. You can, because one, I was trying to download the version on the desktop, couldn't, but for some reason, so I was like, you know what, just it's not fair. Might as well try Final Draft, and boom.
Jeff, can we call up the script?
What page?
Page 5.
Five?
Look, with this kind of a script, I think you really want to be clear with your audience. So a couple things I got confused about. I just want to run them by you. And I know this is your first draft, but just these are a couple things just to keep in mind. On page 5, there's a scene with, okay, good. Right, here you go. Zoe touches the photograph. You need to introduce Zoe up front, because all of a sudden she appears out of nowhere, like, where'd she come from? That was just one thing. So, you want to just be clear about, and one other thing is on page 16, between Zoe and I think Zoe and Eddie. It seems like in the interaction, Zoe has lost her momentum to figure this out. Eddie's the one who takes over, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
have Zoe. She's the one who's pushing, and Eddie's going to say, it's not, have him be the one to say, it's not a big deal. What you want to do, if she's uncovering a mystery, she's got to be met with obstacles by everybody she is bringing this up to. Let secrets die. We're the 3 volumes that are missing. Well, I don't know. Why? Don't worry about it. Just, use what you got. And she goes, there's something that's going on that I'm not, it's a gut feeling, or something. And everyone's telling her, leave it alone. And she's the one who can't leave it alone. And that's the driving force in this whole movie, is her becoming, it's no longer just a dissertation. Now she's solving a murder, basically, is what I see it. A woman who's writing her dissertation becomes involved in solving a murder that happened 200 years ago. I mean, there's your log line. If you want a log line like that, I mean, that just,
That would really help solidify Zoe's character.
Yeah.
Everyone's telling her, well, it's in the past. Why do you care? And then she's almost on this. It becomes her sort of, her character goal. And really, it says a lot about Zoe that, she wants this record straightened out. She wants to find out about this because she's been lied to for her entire life.
Exactly. And give Zoe a character flaw, which makes her even more determined. Maybe she's never succeeded anything in her life. I mean, maybe she's been a failure different things, and this is the one time she's going to prove everybody wrong, and she does. So maybe she's been dismissed all her life by her mother, her cousin Eddie, everybody, and this is her one time to actually redeem herself in the eyes of the family, and that would be her motivating force to solve this mystery that everyone tells her to leave alone. So,
And also, too, when something's a secret and people are trying to hide it, there's a reason why. I'm just throwing it out there that there's a reason why people are trying to keep it secret. So because otherwise, why would anybody care? So whatever that secret is, it has to be something that can impact people today. You get what I'm saying? I'm not quite sure what it is because we haven't gotten that part of the story, and but by the time we finish reading this, we should know what that secret is. But ultimately, we should find out why. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be
Yeah.
something that could, because usually like it's a journey and you have a destination, and the protagonist wants something, and either they're gonna get it. That's how how to end your story is like, do they get it, or maybe they don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't get it, like what are the consequences if they do get what they want? What are consequences? What are the consequences if they don't get it, whatever that is, or if they do get it, whatever that is?
Rosa, just one more thing. On page 10, you say we see Zoe in shadow. You just say we see a figure in the shadow. We see a shadowy figure in the background, and then you reveal it to be Zoe, because you don't want to say we see Zoe in shadow. We don't. The audience is looking at the scene. We don't know it's Zoe. We just see a figure, a shadow. So right there, we see Zoe only in shadow.
Yeah.
We see a figure. We see a shadow in the background. That's all. Or in the foreground, or a shadowy figure or something. And then
Okay.
you can say
we
Zoe
do.
emerges from the darkness, not the shadow from the darkness, if you want something like that.
And not only do you have to figure out who the protagonist is, but also who the antagonist. You have to find out who that person is or what that is.
Right. Is there someone stopping her from wanting to uncover this, and is doing everything he or she can to block
Yeah.
her at every? Maybe he's or she's the one who took the volumes, and they're
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
okay. So there's a person working the background that's trying to trip her up every step of the way.
And Rosa, this is kind of what I was talking about in terms of monologues. You have Vincenza here with this is kind of her introduction, which it's one way to introduce characters with long monologues. But I would say break this up, and yeah, I think also what Rob was saying at your margins are. This is probably even going to be longer in a properly formatted script. So I would say break this up like with some sort of reactions from Zoe, or something like that, or just trim this or trim these type of monologues down a little bit, because I think we kind of get the picture after the first paragraph or so. And again, it's something to just keep in mind. It's fine to give characters monologues, but you just have to make sure that they are intrinsic to the plot.
Yeah, just to add on what Jeff said, it's if maybe also sometimes just try to cut it down a little bit short. That way it can still, because this is something I learned from behind the scenes of making Jaws, was the ending and Apple's speech was originally a couple pages long, so it went under redraft with John Milius and from Steven Spielberg's version. Then it was still long, but it was not long as from Spielberg. Then went to Robert Shaw, who was also like a writer on that as well, for his revising his monologue to under like that. So it's always good to have the monologues a little bit short. And also going back to final draft, it's on sale now for 20%. It's still $199, but it's better than it was 250 almost.
Thank you.
Always a sale going on with Final Draft. Yeah.
Always be selling.
Always be selling. That's right. There you go. Glengarry Glen Ross. Yeah. Another good dialogue heavy.
Yep.
Very dialogue heavy movie.
Ro-
Very
Ro-
different from what you're writing, Rosa. But
Yeah.
Just one question.
go ahead. Go right ahead.
What TV show is Xavier and Steven in?
Narcos.
Narcos. Remember that?
I have no idea. So I would
On
just
Netflix.
you may want to mention the TV show because I'm like, who are these people? I don't know.
I'll mention a little sooner because that Eddie thinks he's like the cool dude. He's not. He's not.
Yeah.
I thought he did mention that. Yeah, I'm getting
Did
this.
mention it, yeah.
He did mention
Somewhere.
it. He's like, I'm getting a thing like the guy.
Oh,
in
is that-
Narcos. Makes me look cool.
Was that Narcos? Okay.
Yeah.
I missed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get that.
The problem when you do
That's Eddie's
references is that
favorite.
everybody doesn't know what they are.
Yeah, the reason why I knew it because I saw season 1, season 2. I even seen the offshoot of it, so I could understand like somebody who hasn't seen it on Netflix probably when. But I think you did mention it, but I could see somebody who hasn't seen it probably would miss that reference.
I think it's. Well, maybe it's not as popular as I thought. I thought it was popular. A popular show.
10 years from now, are people going to know what you're talking about?
No.
Well,
I
I
don't-
mean,
When you're in the canon of the top 100 scripts ever, and 100 years from now, are they going to say, "Oh yeah, we're Narcos"?
I don't know. I'll have to. I don't know. That's a good idea. I could choose a different TV show. Something.
no,
Like
keep.
Matt.
I'd say keep it, but yeah. But
You
let's
can
worry
just
about
describe it.
finishing the script and then worry about where it is in the canon of film.
Exactly.
What
No, I know.
is-
What you mean.
All right. All settled with Rosa's script. Going once, twice. All right. Good discussion. Good feedback. All. I hope that was. Hope we gave you good stuff to work with, Rosa. I definitely think you have something. So
Just one note, Rosa, I have hard copy. I need if you want it, I have to have a physical address to send it.
Okay. I'll type it.
I'll give you the email.
Okay. All right. Joe,
So-
okay.
Thank you.
no, again, Rosa, you definitely have something you're just going to work with. You have a good process going, and I think we all can't wait to see what the final, like, sort of how the final thing looks and sounds.
Thank
First
you.
draft of Apocalypse Now was 200 pages long, so if American President came in at 400.
400, yeah.
There you go. Don't worry about the page.
Don't worry about length in your first draft. Definitely, though.
Let's get it done.
Yep, just get it on the page. Get it on the page. All right. Alex?
Yeah, actually, I was very even more hooked into the second act because, like, you took some of our advices, made it more interesting, and really got into the conflict between, the husband who has cheated in the past. He's like trying to stay away from his wife, and eventually it drove a huge wedge in between their relationship, especially when they're expecting a child from losing their first one from what, a miscarriage, Stephen, was it? Or
Yep.
yeah, so that's really putting more tension on the line between them, and that's very good. So I felt like this is better, like keep it up. And yeah, I felt like it's very good having like people start investigating this guy with why he's connected to these murders. So that's very good. I really, great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely like the second act, you ramping up all the tension and all the danger and all the stakes. That's exactly what you need in an act two. You put our protagonist in his lowest point, and he has to overcome that. So that's also just very important to the second act. And yeah, I definitely you definitely have me hooked with it, and I love just how different it is from your the other scripts that we've gotten from you. It's just a complete gear shift, and I love
Oh,
it
yeah.
so far.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I also really like how you're exploring Jeremy and Celeste's relationship. I really get a sense of who they are as a couple, who they are as individuals now. And I really like that. Um, and I really like the tension at the wedding when Jeremy punches Conrad in the face and Celeste reacts. That's great. I really love that. And my favorite part, pages 72 to 74, I love how you bounce between the Russell foyer and the police conference room. That's so suspenseful. I really like that technique. And I really, really think it adds something. So those are all positive.
Thank you.
I love intercuts like that. That's the other thing I was going to bring up. I love intercuts like that where yeah, sort of action continuous throughout two different locations and two different character beats. It's very well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I like the intercutting and the relationship with Jeremy and Celeste. And I also like the wedding scene. You kind of can see him kind of starting to lose it. So yeah, I agree.
Thanks.
Stephen, did you just start writing this in the past couple of weeks, or is this an old script that you're rewriting here?
I wrote this a couple of years ago.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I love the second act as well. I remember reading the first act last week, and man, now I really get the premise. Uh, it is a thrilling premise, and there is a lot of room for black humor as well, which I will come to later on. Here are some things I noted down. I liked the scene where Prescott lies about his motivation about the Snooky thing. He tells him a story about the road story, something like that. And I also like his pigeon speech, which is in the first act. That was you got to there's a beginning and middle and end to every, do the fun stuff in the beginning. So I love the speech as well. I like the devil bit. The I, as a reader, you think you figured out the story and it follows a specific predictable pattern where Jeremy is going from one place to another doing these tasks. But for the devil bit, it was cinematic how you just have him wearing devil's mask or something like that, and then you cut to uh, the aftermath of it, right? That was, I think, really cinematic, and I can't wait to see where this script goes.
Thanks. Thank you.
Say, Steve, what's your log line on this?
Sadistic surgeon plants a bomb inside a young man and forces him to commit 5 crimes or he'll blow him up.
So
five crimes, and the last one being murder.
Right.
Or he'll blow him up.
So the doctor's really your protagonist here.
No, he's the antagonist.
Well,
I could flip it. Right. Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he is an anti-hero, but he's your primary. I'm not quite sure what has motivated his choice of this man to be his puppet, his implement, but
you will.
Yeah, well,
in Act 3. Yeah, I had another comment similar to that about the log line. I'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's where I was scratching my head. I'm not quite sure, who I'm who I'm supposed to be focused on, whether it's Jeremy or Dr. Prescott.
Okay, good note, thank you.
But I will tell you, like that whole scene around the strip club, that one's got all kinds of interesting possibilities to it. You know, one of the thoughts that crossed my mind about Summer is what happens if she already knows Jeremy a little bit, which makes it much more easy to understand why he starts spilling his guts. You know, whether he was a client of hers, whether they went to high school together once upon a time, or whatever. The actual reason why they know each other doesn't even need to surface, but there's an opportunity, and then she becomes the absolute perfect stand-in for the audience. You can explain anything to her, and you can shortcut some other bits and pieces of exposition if you need to right there.
Good note, thank you. I'm writing it down.
So yeah, Stephen, I enjoy reading it. Like I was hooked immediately since the beginning. I only got as far as page 37, but like I said, I enjoyed it very much. Only one thing stuck out to me so far, but I didn't know whether or not if it was going to be a big deal later. But like when you do, I guess, a close on Frankie's desk, you see pictures of her family, and I was like wondering whether or not that detail was important.
Oh, there's a picture of her father, who's a cop, and there's a picture of her daughter, and I think there's some family photos, but I just wanted to establish that her dad was a cop too.
Okay.
One minor note, possible anachronisms here. We're set, there's a reference to YouTube, I think, so that we're set in the 2020s, more or less. Okay. I'm not sure whether police are that dependent on fax machines anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, they're waiting for material. It could just as easily, or more plausibly, I think today, be coming via email. X-ray on film, I don't think even in secondary clinics these days, anybody is processing film for an X-ray. It's instant to a screen.
Okay.
And the paper medical record when they're in the obstetrician's office. Everybody's every doctor's on a laptop these days. So, I mean, these are, in most respects minor, but they're just thoughts from our own past that just don't, that will catch anybody that's a little bit younger and say, well, wait a second.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I haven't, there's a lot of people now that have never seen a doctor flip through a paper record.
That's a good point. Mine doesn't.
No, mine either.
VA, they seem to make exceptions for paper. The VA, they like paper.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Look at the eyes.
There's sometimes like paper backups just for like, but yeah, mostly, especially doctors they deal with digital. But yeah, there's sometimes paper backups in some VA cases.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, but I just want to make sure that we're all good with positives. Round one, going once, twice. Okay, I guess we're kind of getting started with round two, but anyone want to continue on there? Okay, so Stephen, at this point, where by the end of this act two, Celeste has seen Jeremy really go down the tubes. He's drinking again. He's violent, and he's obviously and he's a danger to both himself and his would-be family down the road. So I think I know where you're going with this, but at the same time, I'm just wondering, like, how is Celeste supposed to, yes, Jeremy is under the, he's being marionetted and controlled by by a completely evil dude and whatnot. That's probably going to be found out and revealed. But at the same time, she's seen Jeremy just go down the same road that he used to go down, and he promised her that he wouldn't do that. So now I'm wondering if all that would be able to be smoothed over by, a grand romantic gesture or whatnot, like in a romantic comedy, or just having it be revealed that, oh, he was, under the influence of somebody else the entire time. And I'm not sure if that, you don't have to say what it is at the end, but it's just something I'm not sure that can be smoothed over that well with just like a third act sort of reveal.
Yeah, so far, I just can't wait for you to blow the guy up. I don't like him. Jeremy, that is.
Okay, maybe I should make him more likable then. Okay.
I think
that would help. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There is there's kind of an overbearing petulance there. I think the moment that particularly sticks out in my head is he destroys the model at the architect's office. He's a 3-year-old,
and he's lost his job, so now
but anybody in a professional realm that you want me to feel sympathetic to is not going to break out a baseball bat and start tearing the place up. They're going to be distraught and walk away. And anyway, there's however you want to shape that. But I'm struggling to care about him.
Okay.
And I think his wife's going to be better off without him.
At this point, yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, yes. I mean, he's not the Jeremy, present day Jeremy. He has fallen back into his old ways again. And he's
so then my question would be, how is Celeste supposed to glance, smooth that over with,
all right. I'll tell you, at the end, we don't know if they're going to get back together again or not. We don't know. That's a question mark at the end, but you'll see it soon. What he reaches out to her at the very end.
Steven?
Well,
go ahead, Vijay.
Yeah, well, on this point, I have a suggestion. I read this book by Chuck Palahniuk, the author, and he talks about head versus heart. The heart is the one we're talking about right now, with the reader has to, identify with the main character, probably empathize with him, and once we are on the side of the main character, we root for him. The other, alternative is the head stories, in which you are, you might not root for the main character, but you're still watching, like Train Spotting, or you just want to hang out with him. So on that note, I find I want to know what happens to Jeremy. It's not like, because the premise is good, I want to hang out and see what happens. So I think you got that part covered. But I would suggest that you consider a less, intense tone, maybe like with more, that is more self-aware. Jeremy is not really, suffering because of this, but it's he cracks more jokes. Have you seen the movie Crank, where with Jason Statham, where something like his heart will, he has to do something fast, or
his heart will explode.
Yeah, but it's a fun movie. I mean, it's you could have a tone on the lines of that, maybe not that crazy, but but with a lot of room for black humor. But you still stick out till the end to see what happens.
Okay, good note. Thank you.
Steven, I was reading your script, and I don't know if you've seen a new movie out. It's called Another Round. It's actually a Danish movie with Mads Mikkelsen. And your Jeremy, in the other movie, Another Round, I was thinking how that character, Mads's character, if you watch the movie, a bunch of middle-aged guys, kind of not happy with their lives, whatever. They follow a Scandinavian theory. You should be drunk a little every day to do better.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't quite turn out that way. But Mads's character, if you look at that movie, right? His wife cheats on him in the end. They get back together. Blah blah blah. But he has changed, and that's caused problems in their marriage, and then they have to reconcile. And in the end, it becomes so important for him to reconcile. But how do they do that? Well, and I was thinking about your script. Now, in the movie that I'm talking about, they talk about a theory, but they show him at his workplace with his students, dragging them, blah, 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 blah. So that's how we see him first, as a completely out of touch teacher. And then then this change, and then we see him change. So, and I know that Jeremy, you have the scene where he knocks down the model, but how was he before? He was good at his job. So I'm thinking, you want to show him breaking down, punching Conrad in the face and doing all the stuff at his job. It would be believable if we knew how he was at his job before, if we saw how reliable and dependable he was in the beginning. That's what I thought, because I was thinking, because then to have him that kind of doing that and knocking down the model, you're going to get fired. But he's so out of his mind. But that would show what a change. It would really emphasize he was dependable and great before, and now look at him. He's knocked down models and punched people in the face. So I just thought that
Good note.
me,
It would make him more likable too. He's
more
fallen this far from grace.
Yeah,
Right.
so if we see him, as an
I love it.
important architect in the beginning, now it's going
Gotcha.
to show up.
Show him as a great husband, a great worker, all that.
Just a scene.
I guess a couple.
Scene where,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion. That's what.
No, I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of a couple things. And I know I've mentioned this film before. It came out last year. It's called The Wolf of Snow Hollow. And he's an alcoholic. I would recommend that film. If you could get your hand on the script, I would say also read the script.
Okay.
In which this guy, he's battling alcoholism, but the way the film, how they saw him descend throughout the film, I thought they did it very well with it. And also recently, me and my wife, we've been binging Shameless, and one of the characters, Fiona, she worked at this kind of like this seedy restaurant, and she turned that thing around. I mean, it was amazing. She was so good at her job, but she also, her life went down, and she started drinking a lot of alcohol, and she pretty much reminds me of what you wrote, how he tore up his workplace and everything. That's pretty much what she did as well. But people were kind of protecting her because she helped them. She helped like different people in the job. But after a while, it's like she wouldn't stop, and it was getting worse until finally they fired her. You know what I mean? So it took a while, because and then I found out later that her assistant manager, she was the manager, she worked her way up. It turned out the assistant manager had a lot of sympathy for her because she herself was an alcoholic, and she went AA, and she kind of saw the similar things that she went through. So
I like it.
yeah.
A question for everyone. So I like showing him in the beginning, he's good at his job. How about he's going to an AA meeting and it's his 6-month sobriety?
That's certainly plausible.
Okay.
I mean, I like the character for what he is. I mean, honestly, he reminded me of Jack from The Shining, and like in the beginning, how you hear about how in the past he was this terrible guy, but then he decided to make a change. And then once
Look where he ended up.
yeah, like, and then once he gets to the hotel, whatever, he just slowly starts spiraling out. I mean, and I like that about Jeremy. I mean, because you hear about how he was this normal guy or this bad guy in the past week, like he's trying to be good, but then he gets a bomb planted inside of him. And now he has to just do all these things. And at the same time, trying to do all these things, he's trying to maintain a healthy relationship with his wife so she doesn't miscarry again or he doesn't lose her. So keeping all this inside just causes him to just spiral out more and more and more until he does react.
Right. And when he punches Conrad in the face when he's drunk and she's like, I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
How long were they married, Jeremy and Celeste?
I don't know. I'd say a couple of years, maybe 3-5 years, maybe.
How long were they together before they were married? Like completely.
I say they probably met in college. They fell in love in college. So maybe a couple of years after college. So maybe.
Okay. The reason why I asked, because there was a scene where they were exploring like scars and stuff like that. So to me, I think, if they were together that long, they would have explored every, nook and cranny of their bodies already. Yeah.
You're not the only one who said, so maybe.
Here, I've got a thought for you, Steve.
Fire away.
Okay. If the bachelor party is happening out of town far enough where he would have been expected to stay at a hotel room, okay, as opposed to come straight home, then you can kidnap him, you can get the surgery done, you can get him back to the park in the morning to meet the doctor, and the doctor can plant the seed with him that this was an emergency appendectomy. And you can leave the bandage on, you can leave the staples in, and he has a plausible story to go back to his wife with. And why didn't you call me? Well, because we're worried about your pregnancy and I didn't want to upset you.
Love it. Because she's already gone to her parents' house. When he goes off to the party, she's already spending the weekend with her parents.
That's right.
But I love the emergency appendectomy. I love that. Yeah. And he didn't want to worry her. Perfect. Yes.
Stephen, I have a problem with this script in a way, in a couple different ways. One is that you just have a lot of different types of characters. You have Jeremy and having the bomb in him. We keep cutting to the mad doctor. We got the cops, and then we got a bunch of other subplots or other character things. And it seems to me that even though I guess we're supposed to root for Jeremy, really it's the mad doctor who's the most interesting. He's the engine of the story, and you want to have interesting characters leading the story. And I'm listening to the doctor and I'm thinking of Vincent Price, an old Vincent playing this role, and it'd be, you would just take this to town. And that's one comment. Two, this is, you're treating the story very seriously, whereas it seems it's like it should have a camp, a nod to the audience that says, yeah, this is sort of preposterous. A bomb's been planted in a guy's body and now he's going to do 5 tasks. There's no wink to the audience that says, oh yeah, this is ridiculous. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, just that's what it is. I mean, 5 things. I mean, but yeah, your story kind of asks, I think, the wrong question by the time it gets to Act 3, which is, your Act 3 is, why did all this happen? That's really the question that Act 3 is answering. Whereas, I mean, who really cares how these things really start? All plots can be built on any why, really. It's really, most plots are really about how. How does the why play out? What the doctor has been fired from his job and is just turned into a raving lunatic. You know, maybe he was always, you know, I'm going to lead with the doctor, because again, that's what your log line suggests. The doctor, and now how does he take his vengeance? And you could structure the story differently and have lead in with your doctor. He's been fired. Now he starts to get his revenge. And maybe at the beginning of Act 2, he's already taken vengeance on a couple of his victims. At the beginning of Act 2, he's going to take vengeance on the Jeremy character, whatever that character really looks like, which is what the rest of the movie plays out, perhaps. But you know, when you got an arch villain like the Doctor, every time this story goes back to the Doctor, I keep thinking, why are we seeing more of the Doctor? I mean, he's the one who's really, you know, he's really the interesting one. And the cops, every time you cut to the cop story, it's like the cops are like almost figuring it out on the fly in their dialogue. Like, yeah, maybe the medical records will solve it. Whereas, I mean, well, we don't need to see the cops at all, almost in this one. I mean, they're going to figure it out somehow, but we don't really, I mean, I couldn't really care less whether they figure it out or not. And I think you maybe just want to think in terms of not plot so much, but character, of building characters that are just fascinating to watch. And that's why a doctor who goes crazy for whatever reason and decides to get revenge for it, that's an interesting character.
Love it. Thank you.
You know, you know, it doesn't, and then maybe you can move into like this matching of wits kind of thing. Again, I mean, this is not like, you know, there's no real matching of wits anywhere in the story. I guess maybe towards the end, we're going to see it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That's where, you know, that's where it comes into play.
Steve, I'm kind of wondering too that you have the psych, you know, the Mad Doctor has these two sidekicks. Instead of him, you know, working on alone. So I was wondering, do you need the, you know, the two gentlemen? Is there a way he could work alone? I mean, I don't know because I haven't read the whole thing yet. I don't know if it's going to make sense who these other gentlemen are and, you know, why they have to be in there. So I was just wondering about that.
I got you. Well, I think once you read the third act, it'll all make sense. Why the Doctor can't work alone. And I don't want to tell you now, but after you read it,
don't tell me. Yeah.
If after you read it, if you still have that question, you know, we can look at it then. But the Doctor does not work alone.
Oh, let me throw that out. If that's really a plot concern that the Doctor can't look alone, then that seems to me even more reason to shift the focus on the Doctor. He's starting to, you know, unfold his revenge plot. For some reason, whatever it is, he has to have henchmen. And, you know, what's one of the obstacles? Maybe one of his henchmen gets in an accident or dies or is arrested or somehow. And now how's the revenge plot going to keep unfolding?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You would want to see how the revenge, you kind of want to get into the revenge plot. That's what's interesting about it is a Doctor who goes crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. And the thing that keeps scratching my head over is he's killing way too easy. It's just like bing, bing, bing. He's not running into any obstacles. It's like people are dropping like flies. Let me cut this one. Let me cut that one. And it's like, you know, he's the character with loads of intent, and he seems to have few obstacles. And then we've got Jeremy, who is all obstacles and no intent. Is ultimately how I boiled it all down. It's like, okay, well, we've got these two people, and they're opposite poles, and we, you know, some way or the other, somebody has to come out on top. But a mixture of, you know, of intention and problems, so that it's, you know, so there's drama.
I mean, the Doctor gets fired. loses his shit. Maybe he experiments on a cadaver first of all, implanting a body, dry run. Then he goes to a homeless person. Oh, that one doesn't work out. Oh, the operating room's a little splattered with blood after that failure because it's a small bomb. And he has to. There's a process where until he gets to the fact that he can actually successfully put a bomb in someone, and then of course he goes to town on it. And maybe just having all the people who are killed be relevant, like the friend who's looking up the medical records who gets killed, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I wrote it down.
Why did the surgeon get fired? Or is that kind of like a big reveal at the end? Okay.
That's act
Okay.
3.
All right.
Yeah, you gotta get some piece of that
Yeah, again,
in the first 10 pages. Not throw away all the surprise, but some piece of that has got to be in the first 10,
Okay.
15.
And there is.
Yeah. The why is
But
not.
if you're not seeing it, then I need to be clear.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The why is really not that important. It's how a character reacts to something, not the why. I mean, lots of people get fired. Lots of doctors get fired. They all don't go out killing people. So, he gets fired, and now this doctor.
Yeah.
So
You know
the
what?
why is not-
But see, that's why the why is important, because like you said, people get fired, but nobody, you know what I'm saying? So it has to
I'm
be
saying-
some kind of motive. Okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying is that the why is important, but it's not a third act reveal important.
How about this? And I wrote this opening, and let me just throw this out. Opens up in a hospital emergency room. Dr. Prescott comes in and he's a little tipsy. And he goes into the operating room. Doctor, your patient's ready for you. And he's in the operating room, and his assistants see that he's a little drunk, and they try to stop him, and he starts fighting them off, and that's how he gets fired. Better opening?
Sure, I mean, yeah, I mean,
I mean that establishes
the actual cause. I mean, you can come up with a whole bunch of different scenarios as to the actual cause that you want to have, and then the story plays out. So, what I'm saying, if you save that for the end, and that's the big part. Oh, he was fired because he was drunk. It's like, okay, the whole story's the story's over now.
Okay, but the question is,
what do we need to know that for now?
Why? The question is, why was he drunk?
Well, again,
and that's third act.
I don't know. Again, I don't know whether we really care where he's drunk, why he's drunk. I mean,
Okay.
Again, all we know is that the doctor was drunk.
Oh.
Drunk because I'm just going to make up something. His wife died, or his lover got killed, and then he went on and then he goes on a killing spree.
I think I got it.
The key thing is that the character is reacting to the incident, and then we see how the rest of the story is how the character reacts to the incident, not the revelation of the incident at the end of the story, unless it really has real snap to it. It's really this has got to be like a Sixth Sense kind of snap, and I don't the explanation for why the doctor did what he did is going to have that snap.
You know what? I got I'm going to write the new opening. I got it. And it doesn't reveal anything that it's not revealing what we don't want to reveal, but it reveals a big chunk of why the doctor is who he is. And I just came up with it, and it's great. I'm going to write it. I think that it's going to clear up a lot of stuff. And then once you read the third act, then I'll tell you what the opening is.
Alfred Hitchcock used to use that term MacGuffin. You're familiar with that word?
It's what everybody wants, but nobody knows what it is.
Well, it's all it is. It's like a MacGuffin is just what gets the story started. In this case, the MacGuffin is the doctor's been fired, and as a result, he's going to get his revenge. So you can cover the MacGuffin in the first 3 pages. The doctor gets fired because he's drunk or he's banging a nurse during an operation. I don't care what the hell it is. All we know is that he's going to start putting bombs in people or whatever he's going to do because he's Vincent Price has come back to life. And motherfucker, a crazy ass doctor. That's what you want to see. That's the character you want to see. You don't want to see Jeremy, who's an architect. Jeez, architects are boring as hell.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you. You gave me a great idea for a new opening, a much better opening.
Yeah,
Hey, I have a.
I mean, he could be like a Dennis Hopper character with breathing, you know, like
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. He could be pills. I mean, he just goes to, you know, he's taking uppers and downers and sideways, and he's got everything, you know, and he's got these crazy henchmen. If he needs henchmen, he can enlist some other people to help him. They are, you know, medical supply salesmen.
But you know, I wonder on that point though, Bob, if we make the arch villain too great, what are we gonna do to Jeremy? How are we gonna lift him? Arch villain's always gonna be more interesting because they're arch villains. So, but if we give him too much, do you know what I mean? Now we have to work harder on Jeremy, making him more human, adding to his story.
No.
Don't you? I mean,
By coming in with the arch villain as this incredibly strong villain, you have to kill a few people before you even get to Jeremy, because we have to demonstrate that this guy is serious. He knows what he's probably know. It's going to take him a while to. Once Jeremy's introduced, and I'm not necessarily referring to the Jeremy that we see in the script today. I'm just saying the lead character. Let's just leave it vaguely as that. Now the lead character, the villain goes after the lead, and now it's a question of, can the lead fight off this super villain? And you know, and you can introduce whatever problems you want attached to Jeremy, you know, divorce, pregnant wife, yada yada. He's got all these things that keep him back from doing it, whatever. I mean, then you go. Now you got a battle. Could be a battle of wits, you know, could be a lot of things.
but I wonder, do you run the risk of this then becoming the doctor's story and not Jeremy's story? Do you know what I mean? That's the only thing.
I think
The
it is
log
the,
line is the doctor's story.
it is the doctor's story. The doctor is the engine.
I thought it was Jeremy's.
Engine, and Jeremy, if you want to, if there's, Jeremy is just really just the mouse that the cat is going to play with for the story. And if Jeremy's good enough, the cat won't eat him. If Jeremy's not good enough, oh boy, he's going to die. You know, he's going to be ripped to shreds. You know, and Jeremy's, you know, then you can say, if Jeremy's ripped to shreds, his wife's going to lose the baby, or if Jeremy's doesn't, you know, then it just turns into something different. But at any time there's a lull in the story, the villain is there pushing, you know, and forcing the good guy to have to react. And again, the cop story, I mean, cops are involved in this story, but this is not really a cop story.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, we're not doing a police procedural, because if those are the cops, you know, they're everything's just coming way too easy for them.
Yeah.
I just bumble through it, and we don't need to see them, because, you know, if the battle is between, yeah, maybe the cops somehow at the end have a role where they come in and shoot. But maybe the doctor just keeps doing it. Maybe you can make this into, you know, this is a Hannibal Lecter type character who, once he's done this, is going to keep doing this, and yada yada.
Yeah, interesting you just said Hannibal, because I watched the series, and basically Hannibal was playing with I'm trying to think of the name of the character, but you know, the main character, I can't remember his name right now. And basically, you know, just everything you're saying is pretty much the same thing that happened in that series. Is Hannibal was just playing with everybody, kind of like that cat playing with the mouse. And to me, if the Mad Doctor becomes the protagonist, so it is who's the antagonist? The antagonist is not necessarily a villain, but basically forces the protagonist to make decisions or challenges that person's choices. So if the Mad Doctor becomes the protagonist, does that mean Jeremy becomes the antagonist? And what sorts of choices is Jeremy making the Doctor? Challenging what? How is he challenging the Doctor? Is so many words.
I don't know.
Well, Jeremy, by his nature, can be a challenge just because he's a normal person bumping up against this, this psychotic, just a psychotic having to deal with reality is a barrier. It's an antagonism by its very nature. If you see the world from within the Doctor's point of view, that's the thing. We can't think of it, we can't look at it as a third party. We have to see his world from his point of view. As soon as you do that, then Jeremy or whoever, everybody is an antagonist, just because they're alive.
I mean, Jeremy's wife, instead of the way she's presently drawn, could have been a nurse in the hospital that the Doctor was in love with. And now when he, when he goes cuckoo, he wants the nurse. Jeremy's an obstacle to getting the nurse.
There you go.
Take out Jeremy. There could be, other couple nurses. I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how crazy you make him. But this is the fun about it, is that you get to take this wild character and just see how far you can take the character to make him interesting, and not be quite so conservative in how your characters are drawn.
Stephen.
Yeah.
All right. Stephen, have you ever seen Phone Booth? It was Colin Farrell's Kiefer Sutherland movie like 20 years ago. Going on 20 years. God, wow. But anyway.
It was like Joe Schumacher, right?
Joe Schumacher, yeah. Rest in peace.
Is that guy shot in the phone booth when he has the phone?
Well, don't give it away, Rob. Spoilers, sorry. But no. But anyway, the premise of the movie is that...
one location picture.
Yeah, one location picture too. But that Colin Farrell is playing this heel of a character, awful dude, Wall Street, like hedge fund manager, whatnot, your typical stereotypical, like evil, like, greedy businessman. But he gets trapped in this situation with Kiefer Sutherland, and Kiefer Sutherland is just a voice on the phone, like giving him orders and directions like you're doing right here. But Colin Farrell can't move out of the phone booth. Otherwise he'll be, the threat is that he'll be shot by a sniper that's over. But the Colin Farrell's character starts out as just an absolute heel of a guy. Like he's just completely awful to his wife, to everyone. He's cheating on her and with everyone. And that's actually one of the things that he has to go through. He has to admit to his wife that he's been cheating on her. But anyway, that's one way that, and I would say the protagonist of that is actually Kiefer Sutherland, even though he's not really on screen at all. He's just a voice on a phone line, because he's the one controlling the operation. He's the one orchestrating the entire thing from start to finish. And, it kind of ends up being that he's just trying to teach Colin Farrell a lesson, in the worst ways possible. But that's one of the ways that you can write this, is that you can have just this unbelievably just intricate and complicated doctor character who's pulling all the strings, knows all the ins and outs, has all the exits covered and all that. But the main dramatic thrust then becomes, how does Jeremy overcome that? Because obviously Dr. Prescott is much smarter than him, much more resourceful, and has, a much more diabolical sensibility and on a completely different morality spectrum than Jeremy. And, that's one of the things that you can do, because, yeah, I love the way BT put it. Dr. Prescott has no obstacles, but has all the compelling stuff, has all the compelling character stuff that we want. And Jeremy has all the obstacles, but none of the compelling character stuff that we need to tag along with this guy. That's a great way of putting it, that because there's some really imbalance right now in your script because really, yeah, as Rob and BT and everyone else has been kind of putting it, Dr. Prescott is much more of our audience conduit than anyone else, and Jeremy's just the puppet. He's just sort of dragged along in this scheme.
Got it. Love it. Thank you. It's great. Great notes.
Well, you've got a tremendous story there. It's good. You know, it should be a blast to write and rewrite. And
oh, it's fun to write. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, Stephen, I wouldn't say, you know, if you're going to keep with the bomb and the 5, I would say the bomb with 5 tasks. The reason I don't like that of having the audience know it's 5 tasks, well then you don't really have, you can just kind of sit back and relax until we get to task number 5. You know, because we know it's going to perform, unless the doctor is crazy, so crazy that he's going to kill him early. There have to be 5 tasks performed. Whereas the doctor just says, do this or I'll kill you. He does that. Then there's another task, do this or I'll kill you. We don't know
I like that.
where the doctor is going to go. You know, who's going to crack first? Stephen,
Yeah.
or me or Dr. Prescott.
I like that a lot. And then maybe the last task, you know, the last one is murder. And the doctor says, this is the last one. You're almost there. You're almost home free. So we don't need to know how many. I like that.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I also think we should have. Yeah, I also think we should have an arc of Jeremy trying to, you know, do other things to take the bomb out. I don't know how you'd accomplish this, but what if the doctor is lying? I mean, like, he has no reason. What if he finishes 5 tasks and he says, you know, I lied, there are 5 more tasks. So there is no reason for him to trust the, you know, the mad villain. So there has to be an arc of him doing other things to, you know, get him out of the predicament. On that note, I would also, you know, give you a movie suggestion. Have you heard of the movie 30 Minutes or Less? It's a comedy that features Danny McBride and Aziz Ansari. Basically, I don't know how that happens, but Danny McBride, somebody straps it.
Oh, the bomb straps his, he's
Yeah.
got to rob a bank or they'll blow him up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I actually think that was based on a true story as well.
Oh. Yeah, I hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that could be, you know, a reference point, but again, that's a totally different movie. It's a, you know, comedy, but
Oh, I like it. Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, there seem to be a lot of bombs strapped to people in movies, and what you're bringing to the story is what the characters are that inhabit your story.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
what-
of
Saw?
sorry, yeah,
go
I was
ahead.
thinking that too. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say Saw, but like Saw 3, where the guy has to go through mission in order to basically get to the end. Like he has to do these things and make other people do these things in order to achieve his goal, which doesn't work out for him at the end of the movie. But yeah, Saw 3 would definitely be a good example.
Okay, thanks. Just wrote it down. Thank you.
I mean, again, the doctor has a beef against he's been fired from a specific hospital. Maybe the end game is wider than just a bomb in Jeremy. He wants to shut that hospital down. He's going to force the hospital to have to evacuate its patients, you know, and maybe because of a bomb or something else. I mean, he's going to try and drive that hospital, make that hospital bankrupt or inoperable. You know, you can escalate the stakes to so much bigger. You know, if you guys don't, you know, all the cancer patients, the electricity is going to be cut off to their life support machines or something in 20 minutes if you don't do X. He's just going to fuck with them. I mean, basically, this is what this is. This is a character who likes to fuck with people, and you got to find the best scenes that show him fucking with people. That's really all it is. It's just, you know.
He's fucking with him. It's all, yeah.
Yeah, I get a Dennis Hopper speed vibes, you know, from the Mad Doctor.
Maybe towards the end, he enters the hospital. He physically enters the hospital, and somehow, because so that he's in danger. I guess you probably want to close this movie out at the end and have him killed. I don't think this is really a villain. This really, he probably really should die at the end, or be treated by the doctors, because they have to live up to the Hippocratic oath. No matter what you've done, we're going to try and take care of you. And they bring him back to life, much to their regret. But they do take care of him at the end after he's been shot 200 times by a cop or something.
Actually, I just remember something like a long, long time ago. I'm trying to remember whether or not if it was the movie or the TV show reference, but you remember that show Amazing Stories? Yeah, I think there was an episode. It might have been the movie. I can't put the two together correctly. However, there was an episode where the doctor, I think he was trying to force his patient to quit smoking cigarettes. And like he used certain things to like motivate him. Like I think in one part, he kidnapped his wife and put her in like an electrical room.
Cat's Eye. Stephen
that's
King.
That's what it was, Cat's Eye? I don't know why I thought it was Amazing Stories.
No, Stephen King's Cat's Eye with James Woods.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm sorry then. Yeah, completely. For some reason, I thought it was Amazing Stories. I don't know why. But yeah, exactly. Like that would be the example to it. Also, just used just because of that that one story. Or was it the whole entire movie, Kenyatta?
It was like one of them anthology films.
That's
So
what I thought.
it was one story. I think there was 3 stories.
Gotcha.
Because what you call it was in it, a young what's her name from E.T.
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. She was a little kid with the cat.
Yeah,
her story was the last story. So and I think the story that you're referring to is the first one.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to watch the whole movie. You could just watch the first like 20, 30 minutes.
Gotcha. Thank you. And it's with James Woods, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Great notes, everyone. I really appreciate it. You guys you're always so good.
That's what we like to do, Stephen.
Well,
you write such great stories. Yeah, I definitely think you always have something. But glad we're giving you movie recommendations too on top of that.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you all. Appreciate it very, very much.
Okay. Anything else?
I would just add, Stephen, is that, what we're trying to do is create roles here that an actor wants to play. And we want to have just the way I imagine the doctor is a role that I would imagine almost any actor would jump to play, because he's so crazy, so over the top, so much fun to play. If they're too conservative, if you're trying to, again, and this goes back to this this idea of campiness or schlock. There's no wink, there's no nod of, wow, this plot is preposterous in your current iteration of this story. But that's what sends the story into the stratosphere. It's speed. I mean, really, Dennis Hopper is taking over the bus, and it's we know it's silly. The joke maybe goes too far in the sequel when it's a cruise boat.
Oh yeah.
Joke,
yeah.
That's the wink, man. You're going, this is crazy, this is preposterous, but okay, the damn cruise boat's going to crash now unless they fix it. But you want to create these characters that are interesting for people to play.
Thank you. Yeah, I do.
Also interesting for the audience to sort of empathize with or not empathize with in the case of the Prescott character, because that's what makes villains, so compelling, not sympathetic or, likable, but they're just so compelling. Hannibal Lecter is a good example. Because you respect the intellect, you respect the amount of time and effort he puts into his schemes and everything. You appreciate the intellect behind it, but it's diabolical. It's completely evil. All right.
Excellent. Really appreciate it. These are fantastic notes.
Good. No, again, you always have great script ideas.
I'm gonna make it better based on these notes.
I have no doubt.
Thank you all.
All right. But is everyone done with Stephen's script? Going once, twice? All right. Yeah, it's a great discussion, everyone. Yeah, great feedback. And yeah, again, you're free to send the last act, Stephen. I do want to see how this ends, and I do definitely want to, of course, see the revisions. But yeah, there's a few problems with the script as currently is, but I mean,
I think
I'm
I'll send
still-
Act 3.
Okay, you'll send act.
That,
Okay,
that
yeah,
way you guys can know what happens. And
know
then
everything.
based
Yeah,
on that,
everything's laid out. Yeah.
you'll have more feedback, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah. Then yeah, I'm sure we'll be in anticipation with the revision, which I'm sure will be just absolute knockout. Okay, so we're done with the script. With sort of pitching script ideas and or something in any stage, you can have a treatment written down, you can have a full script, but if you're just asking for like thoughts and opinions on a script idea that you currently are like swimming around in your brain, you are free to sort of put it out there to the group to see if anyone has any thoughts or suggestions on it.
Yeah, I do have one. Thanks for asking me. I do have one that I'm working on, which I hope to submit sometime later on. I just want to explain the idea and see, you guys tell me if there's a movie here. Okay, so this is a therapy drama, basically. So it's set in an Asian family. I don't know if I need to, if I'm setting it in an Asian country or in an Asian family living in the US. So basically, it's a kid who, attempts suicide, who's a med school aspirant. So basically, he gives the, exam, the entrance test, and then attempts suicide on the same night. And is not successful at the it's at the suicide. So that is the inciting incident, and the act one break is he is assigned a therapist, like a psychiatrist who has to counsel him, about the high pressure environment that he is in. And and his father is the typical Asian dad. He wants him to succeed. He did not deliberately push him to suicide, but he's a flawed character as well, and he has to realize that as the story progresses.
PJ, can you give us a short log line? Or could you come up with a short log line about the story? Just like a one sentence description.
Yeah. I could just throw it. I'm just this is the first time I've thought about it, but so and an Asian boy who attempts suicide after failing an SAT or the pre-med exam has to learn lessons about the living, about himself and the world he lives in by sessions with a psychiatrist.
Is it a comedy or a drama?
It's a drama.
Sure, it's not a comedy.
Yeah. I'm confused why it would be a comedy.
Well, I'm just saying it's not an unusual plot line. Someone wanting to do something that they've been pegged into the wrong hole. Someone's trying to force them into the wrong hole. In this case, because he's committed suicide, the stakes are the characters are a little bit willing to get out of that pegging more desperately than others, but it's still the same sort of idea. I'm just saying the comedy is that the guy you could have the suicide be just ridiculously silly because he deliberately botches it. Then you have room for all this. But if it's a drama, it just seems, as a drama, it seems awfully heavy-handed, and I just have as a drama, I would have a hard time thinking you'd have a hard time sustaining really the storyline because it's really almost a story trope now to have this, person who's who's just on the wrong path and needs to get on the right path.
So VJ, is your story frame sort of just in the therapist's office, and your lead character is just sort of recounting like all the problems that has led up to his suicide, all the problems that are going on in the family?
Yeah, pretty much. It's have you seen the film Ordinary People?
Yes, very excellent movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhat inspired by that. To give you the idea, you know, it's just it's based on it's transposed to a high achieving Asian family, basically.
So
the bulk of the movie. Yeah.
His father's a doctor. His brother's a doctor. His cousins are doctors. His grandfather was a doctor. I mean, he's got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Some, you know,
That,
I saw it as family's wish, family pressure versus what he wants. I mean, you've got to give it a nice twist on that, but that's what the story seems to me. Family pressure versus what he's obligated to do versus what he wants to do. And maybe while he's going back to school, he secretly goes out to the theater and doesn't tell his parents, and he's trying to do that, and he finds that he's got more passion in that than anything else he's ever done. So that's a possible way to go. He's doing it behind his parents, so he's leading a double life.
Asian American version of Shakespeare in Love.
Hasn't Harold and Kumar?
I should check that film out. I've never seen.
What, Shakespeare in Love? You've never seen?
Yeah.
Oh, try it out. And you know, look at the Viola character and her conflict, which of course comes to naught in the end. But there's someone who has been, you know, who has been thoroughly slotted in a responsibility, and of course, in the same way as an Asian or an Indian family or whatnot, everything is kind of prescribed for her. She's a woman in Elizabethan England, and she figures out a way to break out of all of that temporarily, anyway, in the theater. And it's in that case, the conceit is it is a fictional telling of how Romeo and Juliet got written, and you know, all of the extra layers that go along with that. But it's my favorite Jeremy Rush character.
I'll note that down. And to add to Stephen, actually, the double life angle was really interesting because the way I perceived my screenplay, the parents don't know that he's going to a therapist. So that is something that is kept, you know, it's, they think that he's preparing, you know, it's not unusual to take a year off and prepare for med school or, you know, so they think that, you know, he's on that routine again. But the fact that he is seeing a therapist is new then. So the question, the new question is like, who asked him, like, how did he, you know, get that? Who actually, you know, got him the appointment of this sought after therapist, you know, who I hope would be played by, you know, it's written for like an extended cameo of an A-list actor or something like that. So that is something that would also be revealed, like, you know, this girl at school has a, you know, soft corner for him. So at some point that is also revealed, and so the dream sequence is also happening in parallel, and at some point there is a closure to the whole dream as well. Yeah. So I agree this can be heavy-handed as well, because this is my first drama that I'm writing. I've written comedies before. The humor or the lightness in the film, I think, would come from, you know, abrupt cuts. Like, you know, there is a point in the story where the parents come to know that he's been seeing a therapist, and their marital, you know, problems come to a crescendo at that point. So they are arguing, and it's like a, you know, high-pitched argument, and you cut abruptly, and they both are sitting at in the therapist's office, which it's a taboo in the Asian community. So, the I was thinking of ways to lighten it up. So, I mean, I'm open to thoughts and suggestions on that.
I don't necessarily agree that you have to lighten these things up, because otherwise that could be also distracting. That there's like I think I kind of know what Rob is referring to in terms of like dark comedies that deal with suicide and all that. To me, sometimes they come off as really distracting, like you're trying to lighten the load a little bit rather than trying to explore the drama. And that's a very hard balance. But at the same time, if you feel like you have to be forced into comedy that usually doesn't come off well, it usually comes off
Right.
as you're trying too hard to lighten the load. But sometimes, Ordinary People is a great example. That's very heavy stuff. Robert Redford's debut movie, amazingly enough, but film director, I should say. But that really like keeps the drama constant. That's through the performances, it's through the writing. There's very little levity in that script throughout. But yeah, I don't think you should ever like feel like you should be forced to add into like humor, because sometimes it can come off as very distracting and just sort of tonally off.
Yeah, totally.
I was just going to say, I mean, why not do an Asian version of Ordinary People? The guy kills himself. The parents are left to deal with the suicide, and there's a younger sibling who's under the same pressure. And and then the whole concern is the next kid gonna survive? Is he gonna crack under the pressure? Are the Asian parents going to adjust at all to the way that they're raising their kids? And they've caused one, they push one into suicide. Will the next one, go the same route? Basically, I guess is the dilemma.
I actually love that idea, Rob.
Same. I like that idea of just Asian American Ordinary People. That would be.
That's pretty much where I was inspired this from. So I just don't want people to I just don't want this to be a ripoff, like because I was inspired from Ordinary People, and to have the exact same scenario would be like would be totally derivative. So that is why I thought the eldest sibling in an Asian American family is traditionally under the more pressure to succeed and to pass it on to the next generation.
But see, you're not really remaking, or I mean, again, you can take the plot from Ordinary People, parts of the plot, but when you describe, instead of it being like it's not going to be Mary Tyler Moore and Robert Redford, an American kind of family. It's going to be an Asian family. You're going to be describing the storyline in a completely different context. You're just really, the parents are going to be grandparents. There's going to be a whole sociological family involved in this thing that, that takes it completely out of Ordinary People. All you've taken from the plot line is that the Asian American parents, because of their fixation on their son becoming a doctor or a child becoming a doctor, he kills himself. Now everybody has to live with the repercussions of this.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. So I really like that idea of a family that of doctors, and he is the misfit. So what did you guys think of the fact that he's seeing the therapist in secret, and that is revealed later on? So do you think that it's an interesting?
He's seeing the therapist romantically, or just as a?
No. He's just a patient. But
just as a patient. Okay.
Yeah, therapy is taboo in Asian families. So they, they equate therapy with serious mental retardation. Like it's not something it's not something that is accepted. It's, it's a serious issue,
I think
right?
Yeah, I think American audiences might have, while that might be culturally true, I think for at least a non-Asian audience, especially an American audience, would have a hard time really seeing the taboo. They would say, yeah, it might be a taboo, but how strong can the taboo really be, in today's world? I mean, everybody, there are there's lots of shows about therapy, why would this still be such a taboo?
I like the story, but I'm not crazy about the psychiatrist bent here. I see this as a family drama, and if you write great characters, it'll be great. But like I don't really see any I don't know, anything special about the psychiatrist unless you do something where the psychiatrist becomes very important to the family. But that's the one end that I'm not. Everything else I do like about the story. You write really good characters, but just the psychiatrist thing I'm not too sold on.
If you kill the son and the family try and figure things out, go to a psychiatrist, and it is a taboo, well, that's something different. It's not constant. It's the family has to move into this taboo therapy environment to help them work through their problems, which is just going to be a subset of them trying to figure out the whole thing anyways.
I mean, that taboo against therapy or sort of if going into getting professional help, that can be explained, that can be explained in scripts, whether that's just because it's this family or it's because of cultural taboos or whatnot. I think that can be explained throughout in a conversation between one of the father or the mother or one of the patriarch or matriarch of the family.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's something that was tackled in the show New Amsterdam, as well, the medical show. There was an episode I remember. This mother is reluctant to accept that her child needs mental help, and doesn't realize it until she jumps in front of a subway train. So.
And you've written this? You said you've written this script or writing?
No, I'm just outlining right now. I wonder if that because when you're outlining, you think about the bigger picture. And right now I'm thinking of, the film opens with the dream sequence, and that is like a recurring motif. And then, that is brought up at some point with psychiatrist, with the therapist, and they try to like solve this dream, decode this dream, and that's like a subplot, that we hopefully hang on to know what it is.
Yeah, keep writing on it, and but I just want to make sure we get to. Raina said she had a pitch for a short script or unless is everyone okay with VJ's? Okay, move on to. All right, Raina said she had a short script idea.
Okay, I put the log line in the chat. I'm gonna hit send, but I'll go ahead and read it. A test subject participating in an AI home management system program decides to add the sarcastic mannerisms and empathetic response generator programmable subroutines with mixed results. It's gonna be very short. It's kind of like, what if we were able to program the voice that comes out of Alexa, and we were also able to program sarcastic responses and her ability to pick up on, when you're feeling certain emotions, like, can she gauge that? More how, less data, like if we're comparing AI systems known to people, because movies. And
This is for a short. This is
this is
for
for a short, yeah.
Comedy or drama?
Oh, this is definitely a comedy,
Comedy.
because there are so many opportunities for misunderstandings based on cultural differences. I mean, you know, because it's computer, and because, you know, when you're programming stuff, you have to be very specific if you want a specific response from a computer, right? So it would be a mistake for a person, like an American, to choose like the AI with the Australian voice or the New Zealander voice, because they got different stuff going on in New Zealand and Australia. You know, you don't. That's not a match made in America. So
That's a great idea. I love it.
it said, is it set in a household?
yes.
Okay, in one household, okay.
So I was gonna shoot it here because I have, for whatever reason, I have a lot of remote control stuff.
Okay.
You know, I got a bed that goes up and down, and I got a light that, you know, you turn on, and you can change the actual lighting exposure to, like, you know, hospital bright white to, like, you know, mood, you know, yellow or whatever, and it's got a dimmer and stuff, and I've got like a big readout digital clock that will announce what time it is. The time is now, blah 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 blah, you know, whatever. And a couple of months ago, I noticed that I was falling behind on reading all the articles that I access when I go onto Facebook or social media, because I primarily just read articles or news articles from there. So there's this program called speech something, and it allows you to choose like which voice, you know, you want to read the stories to you. And I was like, well, I don't see Idris Elba in here, so I'm having some issues. So I'm trying to find, you know, and the inflection's all wrong, and like it gets like the accent wrong on words, and you know, it's pretty humorous for me because you could choose like Australian or Irish or Scottish. That's fun. So, you know, just different things.
Suggestion? So I'm trying to think of a story that you could go around that.
Mm-hmm.
I just came up with something. Take it for what it's worth. So this couple comes into a room and they've been dating, and she goes, I'm just going to freshen up. I'll be right back. And she goes to the bathroom. The guy is left with, you know, this AI system. And he goes, and it comes out something like, I haven't heard your voice before. Who are you? And they start conversing, and the system is starting to tell him about her.
Oh no. No. No.
Okay.
That's cool, Steve.
Hey, I'm going to copyright that idea right now.
No.
You have to credit Raina for the idea there.
Yeah.
Let's not be stealing other people's ideas.
I think it would be cool for a fun romantic situation too. Something along those.
Something
yeah, like
where that system
Goofy.
becomes a character. You want that system to become a character now in this.
And
and
you
then,
know,
and then she comes in. It could be cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
because computers are like, everybody's seen the invention of lying, right? So if a computer was a person, all the time they would just be telling you the truth all the time, which is not ideal. So yeah, that would not. Oh no, don't let him talk to it. No, just no. I mean, no, like in a good way, like that's hilarious, but
Yeah.
oh, just so many opportunities for
Mhm.
What if you have
dangers of inappropriate things.
what if you have your humans teaching your Alexa to speak the way they want to, and then it becomes sarcastic and things start to get out of control, and then they bring another Alexa into the room, and the two Alexas now go head to head and start a battle amongst, and the machines start to battle with each other and perhaps with the humans. I like the romantic one too. I'm trying to, how do we escalate the drama here?
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And Alexa Terminator.
yeah, Alexa, well, when there's an exchange between two people and they're supposed to be friends, or they're exchanging friendly banter, and then it starts to get into where they start making personal jabs at each other, but it's all in a bit of sport for them, right? And then it kind of ventures off into them just, for lack of a better definition, just insulting each other. They start with just topical things, and they start to get personal. I just see with a computer system to another computer system, they would get real personal, real mean, real fast. Because computer, why am I?
If this
Good idea.
this Alexa or whatever we're going to call it is so smart, maybe there's a scene when nobody's in the room and it's getting kind of bored, and it just starts to turn off lights and turn the stereo on, and everything, it turns on the Nest camera and it looks at that for a while. It has its own intelligence, I guess is where we're going. And when it gets bored, it starts to mess with things.
Yeah, that's why I'm not going to ever get one of those things, because they listen to you, and I'm not okay with that, because they could take things easily out of context all the time. So, but yeah, thank you for all of those recommendations. But that's what I'm working on. I'm still working on the outline, because I'd like to try and film something this year and submit it somewhere. And I think that for me, considering all that I have here, is doable. I got a very limited equipment kind of situation, and I'd be doing everything on my phone. And
What if the setup was that the person is like a consumer reports kind of person, and her job is to evaluate whether system A or Alexa A or Alexa B, which one is better. And so she sent both of them arrive into her house, and she starts to evaluate them. And then the two systems start to go at each other. We're trying to, you want, somehow I'm trying to introduce some kind of conflict into this story.
Right.
So,
I'm just in my head, I'm trying to figure out how to picture that, because
they got different voices. They got because it really could just be as simple as you lock the camera on both machines. They're fairly unremarkable, and then you just add the voices, two different kinds of voices, because it's just a short. I mean, the idea can't be too long, anyways. And now you just one has got this kind of voice, one has got this kind of voice, and then they start to go at each other.
Right. Huh. That's a good idea. So that was it, basically. That's all I had.
The only thing, one interaction I could think of is that the way that they inject a personality into this thing is that they try to teach it sarcasm, but it turns out that they translate it into just outright lying, because the line between sarcasm and just lying is, razor thin.
Right.
So it confuses the computer, and that causes sort of a glitch, or sort of like what you were saying about how it creates a feedback loop problem, or sort of because there's some things that computers won't be able to intuit.
That's true. Or it just keeps reusing the same phrase, and it's like, no, that's not what that means. Don't use that to say that. That's no. Yeah.
Maybe it's a giant kind of Alexa that's really like 6 feet high and 3 feet wide, and it's got lights that blink on and off, and it's a little scary. And then as you start to get your sarcasm, it becomes more scary, just because it's big. It's not a tiny little Alexa speaker.
Yeah.
Well, we're going in the direction of smart homes, where you can, when you're at work and you're on your way home, you could turn on your thermostat. So by the time you get home, your house is nice and toasty when you get home. Then you have smart TVs, you have smart refrigerators, smart phones. So these smart homes is, um, I mean, you could control it from your phone. So it's like, imagine an AI in a smart home. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, they could turn on the heat whenever they want. You could turn on whatever channel the TV could come on, so you could have all these possibility of glitches and even autocorrect when you texting. You could write a word, and then all of a sudden, it this word that it will correct. It will take away the word that you typed and put in another word that means something totally different.
Yeah.
And you better pay attention because you hit send. That's happened to me before, and that's happened to other people. Because people send me texts it's like, "What the hell are you trying to say?" You know what I'm saying? So, oh no, I meant to. It's autocorrect, so on and so forth. It does the same thing on social media. When you post things, how many times have you typed something in, and then it will autocorrect something, and then you press send when not paying attention, and then your message is totally different from what you intended. So like the technology, in terms of the human element, where we could distinguish like nuances and language and intent and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much the goal, because having programmed different things, like having set up databases and everything, and you want to be able to have that interface that is seamless, and you want the computer to be able to pick up on inference. That it would really be hard to program. So I just imagine, say we're living in a pre Black Mirror world where they're pretty much showing you the unintended consequences of all of this advanced technology. And I'm more focused on, well, didn't they have to do some testing before they actually, implemented this? I mean, that must have been hilarious. So, all of that, coupled with the fact that, when we get something, when we're actually provided with a product as consumers, we don't know how much testing was involved before it was actually released for consumption. And, this is just in my mind's eye. I'm like, well, you'd really want to test this if you really want it to be effective. Bye, Rosa.
Hi, honey.
If you really wanted it to be effective, you'd want to make sure that you live tested it several times, and you had like a pretty sizable sample size, and a percentage of your consumer demographic using it. So this is just one instance, and they're trying, and I would think on the part of the person that is actually participating as a test subject, they'd have to demonstrate a lot of patience, and be able to communicate with the actual company, because I have to think of things that are filmable within the scope of my abilities. So it would be a lot of me as a test subject saying, stop program, disable program. As soon as it got to a point where it had, kind of violated some sort of, boundary, it's like, no, that's not acceptable. We've gone over this before. I'm going to go over it again. And, just me sitting at the computer, typing out a response, explaining to customer service, what's going on. And like customer service anywhere else, it's all self-directed. You got to go to the FAQs, and then, they're telling you, oh, go here and do this here. And then, print A, and then, insert one. And what? No, but yeah.
Well, we're in the beta stage right now anyways. We're
Right.
constantly in the beta stage. Every time you turn around every 6 months or 12 months, it's a new iPhone. Yeah. So we're always in the beta stages. So, it reminds me of a scene in Us, the movie Us, when they were trying to call police, and instead of calling the police, it plays the song "Fuck the Police."
Yeah,
So
that's what computers do to you. That's what AI does.
Raina, what if you had an apartment building with a really cheap landlord, a cheesy landlord who's agreed to test out this Alexa thing you're talking about in all of his apartments, and everybody gets affected by it? That the machines somehow communicate with each other in all of the different apartments, and the sarcasm travels throughout the whole building. Lights are going on and off, and the whole apartment building is taken over and possessed by these Alexa machines.
That would be fun. I just don't have the resources or the money to do that, but that would be great.
Well, all you need, you could just shoot the exterior of an apartment building, and then just maybe go to your friends' houses and just put the Alexa in someone else's bedroom. Someone else.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
that's all you need to do. You're not creating any sets or anything like that.
That's true. Yes.
Hope that helped you out, Raina. Yeah, it's definitely a great idea for not just a short, any sort of thing about the constant encroachment of technology, that sort of thing. That's very popular right now. You mentioned Black Mirror, which so yeah, you definitely have a lot of potential there.
Okay, cool, great.
Can't wait to see the script.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? Pitch ideas or?
Has anybody seen Rocket Man?
Yeah.
The movie.
The Elton John
Yeah,
biopic?
yeah. I've seen pieces of it. You know how I am about musicals, and for some reason, I can't get it out of my head doing a musical. And I want to do a musical on George Clinton.
Musical?
Yeah, or George Clinton.
Oh,
So
there you go.
I've been hearing a lot of George Clinton Funkadelic Parliament songs. For some reason, I keep hearing them. So it's just like something's telling me to do. I just want to do something like a Rocket Man. I have to finish watching it. I've seen pieces,
It's
and
good.
I love the
definitely finish it.
That
might give you some idea of how to do you want to do sort of a George Clinton biopic in the same vein. I would love to see that. That'd be awesome.
Is there other movie recommendations that can help inspire me?
On Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure it's Prime, not Netflix. There's a documentary. I can't remember the title. If the word funk is in the title, and it goes through P-Funk. It goes through a lot of these people. It's, James Brown. It's really tracing it. It sort of begins with Brown and goes on to all the people who come after James Brown. But it's a pretty good documentary about funk. But they do talk to George Clinton and a lot of other interesting people. It's a pretty good little documentary. I just can't think of it's on Amazon Prime, and the word funk is in the title.
I started watching one documentary on George Clinton. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but I'll look for
it's
more.
It's not about George Clinton. This is about funk.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that as well.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was on my queue. And I noticed too, he has a book, so I think I'm gonna read the book. But there's something in me that just keeps wanting to do it. You know what I mean? And even though I don't like musicals, like one of the musicals that I like that a lot of people don't seem to like was The Wiz. And
I like that one.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's a horrible film, but that's like one of my favorite movies. So, and I could
George Clinton doesn't seem like the family fare of The Wiz, but
yeah, but in terms of like the visual, the craziness of the like all that urban visuals and kind of like but you just put like a lot of psychedelic stuff in it. So and I've been really paying attention to some of the lyrics of the song, because usually it's the beat you pay attention to and some of the chorus, but I've been really paying attention to the lyrics, which I'd never before, and it's, you know, so that's kind of like my beginning stages of, you know, ultimately, you know, creating a script on George Clinton.
You can't do shit if you don't have the rights, brother.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, you can't do shit if you don't have the rights. So
No, but well, yeah, that's true. I thought about that as well.
Yeah.
And I know if I were to write something, I can't really do anything with it unless I get the rights.
Right. I mean, also another movie is the Get On Up, the James Brown with Chadwick Boseman. Like I thought that was one of his best performances, like before Mama Rainey's Black Bottom. But that's also sort of in the same musical biopic sort of means that I think you're looking into. But yeah, you could definitely, without the rights, you really don't even have stage one. I mean, you could certainly write it, of course, but producing it is a whole nother thing.
Yeah. But it's just something. Yeah, I mean, I could look into the rights and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, if I can't produce it, it's something I just want to write, even if I can't, you know. Maybe I mean, I don't know even if you're not intending to produce it, can you use it as a writing sample or anything like that? Like if somebody is interested in seeing an example of your writing, can you use it for that, even though you're not intending to sell it. So that's
parody. Like you could do a parody. Like you could make up like a fictionalized version of George Clinton and do it that way.
Mhm.
you could write the thing. I mean, you can certainly write it as a biopic if that's what your idea is. It's just that you don't own the rights to any of it, and you may go to whoever holds those rights, and it might be George Clinton. It might be a record. It's more likely to be a record company who owns the rights to all the music, and they might say, Kenyatta, this is a fucking brilliant idea. We want to use your script, or they might say, thanks for submitting, but we're going to go with somebody else.
Yeah, or you find
That's
out.
it. This is a passion project, but it's not necessarily. I mean, it's kind of sort of like that guy. We had a guy who was part of this group, who Pip, who was basically took some guy's book and was trying to turn it into a script, but he didn't own the rights to the book, and it wasn't that everything about it, the story was interesting and all that, but if you don't have the rights,
Produce it.
it's just a writing exercise.
It's just a writing exercise.
It is a writing exercise, and it might pay off but the chances of it paying off are fairly slim.
I think it still could be a brilliant writing sample. That's what happened with the spec script that was written on Madonna's life. It ended up on the blacklist. I don't know what's it, but Madonna took a look at it and like, you don't know what you're talking about. My life or something like that at all, and she scrapped it. But I think the writer is pretty sought after, even though.
I mean, is that's not the Beatles movie, is it? I can't remember the name. There's some guy who did the Beatles, took all the Beatles music and made an Indian guy who.
Oh, Yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday, who took the Beatles music and he wrote it, and the Beatles are apparently notorious for not wanting to grant anybody the right to use their music.
Well, it's just very expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
Expensive to license Beatles music.
Yeah. Somebody read it and they liked it. He got it to the right person, and they said, "Sure, go ahead and do it." So it can happen.
But yeah, I do like if you do want to like guarantee sort of like it gets made, without any sort of like red tape or anything that you have to go through. Yeah, a parody based on sort of George Clinton's life may be your route, and if you want to, that wouldn't require like too much wrangling. I mean, that's
parody. I mean, everybody's parodied. George Clinton. I mean, they've already been parodied. You know,
Right.
they're parodied enough, I think.
They've been parodied enough. That's a good point. All right.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
notes.
yeah.
Thanks
See
so,
ya.
thanks so
See ya.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.